Hi, welcome to an essay I'm calling Seed Money, No Soil. What happens when we fund ambition but skip formation? It's in response to an article called Getting Hired is Too Hard, so they're starting companies instead by Joe Constance for Bloomberg Business Week on April 14th, 2026. So the argument is colleges, employers, and venture funds have formed an accidental coalition, each withdrawing from formation in their own way, and together they're producing a generation that skips the very developmental stages that makes founders, employees, and citizens worth investing in. They're not launching entrepreneurs. They are extracting children. Hang with me. An 18-year-old raises $2 million before finishing his first semester at Carnegie Mellon. I took courses there in Pittsburgh. He joined a fraternity. He enjoyed campus life. Then investors started committing 10 minutes into calls, and he took a leave of absence in January. Bloomberg reports this as resourcefulness. I read it as a system cannibalizing its own seed corn. It gets worse. Two Stanford undergraduates take an AI healthcare idea hatched as a class project to a Y Combinator and begin testing it in hospitals before they reach legal drinking age. 0 years of clinical experience, 0 years of medical training, 0 years of understanding what happens when a system fails and a patient pays the price. And we handed them accelerator backing and hospital access. In what universe is this responsible? In a universe that has stopped asking whether founders have been formed before they are funded. I know what founders look like. I'm a venture advisor at Maniv Mobility, and one of our portfolio companies, Harbinger Motors, is what happens when formation precedes funding. CEO John Harris spent years at Boeing as a structures engineer, then moved through Faraday Future's battery systems, then XOS Trucks, where he invented low cost battery architecture and held multiple patents, then Anduril, where he took a product from prototype to volume production in under 3 years. His co founder and CTO, Phil Weicker, brought 20 years of battery and drivetrain development from QuantumScape, Coda Automotive, and Canoe. Their COO, Will Eberts, designed control surfaces and landing gear systems on airplanes that still fly today. Their VP of Business Development spent 30 years in chassis and commercial truck bodies, growing Spartan Motors from 10 million in sales to more than 500 million. These founders did not hatch a class project and pitch Y Combinator. They spent years inside the systems they are now transforming, long enough to understand not just what was broken, but why previous attempts to fix it had failed. The result? $363 million raised, a $500 million valuation, FedEx ordering trucks. They are building components in-house for $1,500 that tier one suppliers used to quote at multiples of that. That is not the confidence of youth. That is the authority of formation. And that is the difference between a company that will still exist in 10 years and one that will be a line item in a VC's write off column. But formation is not what we celebrate. We celebrate the dropout. The Bloomberg article invokes Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Michael Dell, and Mark Zuckerberg as proof that skipping formation works. Consider what that mythology actually produced. Zuckerberg built a platform so indifferent to its consequences that it destabilized elections across multiple democracies, amplified genocide in Myanmar, and turned adolescent mental health into a cost of doing business. And he could not bring himself to take responsibility until Congress physically seated him in a chair. Gates built a monopoly so ruthless the Department of Justice dismantled it. Jobs denied his own daughter and humiliated subordinates as management philosophy. Musk has mass fired workforces by email, mocked employees publicly, and treated human beings as firmware to be updated or deleted. Sorry, these are not formation success stories. They are formation absence stories. Brilliant minds that were never finished, never formed into the kind of leaders who understand that capability includes how you treat people. And now we're telling 18-year-olds to follow that playbook. We're not just skipping professional formation, we're skipping human formation. And then we celebrate the wreckage as genius? The Bloomberg article frames student entrepreneurship as a rational response to a broken entry level job market. That framing is exactly backwards. Why is the entry level market broken? Because the same companies these students admire and the same AI tools they're building on have been systematically hollowing out the starter roles that once formed people. The kids are not escaping a broken system, they are being recycled through it. And here's the cruel irony: some of these AI startups will, by design, further eliminate the very entry level positions that their founders' classmates are struggling to find. The Ouroboros eats faster. The colleges are abetting every step of this withdrawal. Entrepreneurship classes, once considered niche, are now packed with waitlists. On campus accelerators are at capacity. Johns Hopkins drew more than 860 incubator applications this year, up from 50 5 years ago. Rice's entrepreneurship enrollment more than doubled in 3 years. Stanford's engineering professors describe students going from classroom to 4 million in 3 months. This is not education. This is acceleration without foundation. The university's job is to form minds, to teach a student how to think across disciplines, how to tolerate ambiguity, how to distinguish between a clever idea and a durable one. When a university turns its campus into a pitch competition, it is outsourcing its formative mission to the market. And the market does not form people, the market prices them. The venture capitalists are the most honest actors in this story, and that should terrify everyone. One founder in the article says it plainly: investors come in at low valuations because the student does not know what a valuation means. And they take a lot of equity early. That's not an investment. That is extraction from people who have not been formed enough to recognize they are being extracted from. When a university tells a 19-year-old she's a founder and a VC offers her 4 million, no one in that chain is asking the question that matters. Has she been formed? What we're watching is a three-party withdrawal from formation. Employers withdrew first, hollowing out entry-level pipelines and replacing apprenticeship with algorithms. Colleges followed, converting classrooms into launchpads because it's easier to celebrate a fundraise than to measure whether a student learned to think. And venture capital completed the circuit, showing up on campus with term sheets before the students had taken enough courses to understand what they were signing. The article quotes a career coach who says that even if a student startup does not pan out, the initiative and resilience it demonstrates can impress prospective employers. This is the language of resume decoration, not formation. It treats entrepreneurship as a signaling device, a way to stand out in a sea of candidates, rather than a discipline that requires deep preparation. We have turned founding a company into a line item on a LinkedIn profile, and we are calling it empowerment. One administrator at Rice University offers perhaps the most revealing line in the entire piece. Students now view leaves of absence the way traditional students view study abroad, except instead of traveling and learning, they spend a semester at a hacker house in San Francisco. The institution itself frames dropping out of education as an equivalent educational experience. MIT is reevaluating leave policies. Y Combinator has launched an early decision program so students can lock in a spot while still enrolled. These are not reforms, they are infrastructure for extraction, making it easier to pull unformed talent out of the one institution, however imperfect, that was designed to form it. I've spent 36 years in manufacturing, from GM assembly floors to the Royal Enfield turnaround in India to running a plant today in Worcester, Ohio. The framework I have built over that career uses a simple metaphor: mud, water, sun. Three conditions required for capability to grow, to bloom. Mud is sanctuary, the safe space to learn without existential consequences. Water is the ascending challenge that builds capacity. Sun is the crucible that tests whether roots hold. A first semester leave of absence to raise venture capital skips all three. It plants a seed on concrete and calls it a garden. I don't blame the students. Avalon Suero, the Carnegie Mellon senior building a political campaign simulator, says that even if her idea does not work, at least she has something she cares about on her resume. She's being rational inside an irrational system. The system told her that jobs are scarce, that AI can substitute for experience, and that investors will pay for ambition. She believed it. The system lied. The question's not whether these students are talented, they are. The question's whether we are willing to form them before we fund them. Because a founder without formation is not an entrepreneur. A founder without formation is a product packaged by a university, priced by a VC, and consumed before she ever had the chance to become what she was capable of becoming. This is not the economy working. That is the economy extracting. And our children are paying the price. Thank you.